So my buddy and I, we were always talking about the future of the entertainment industry. He does music. He's in an awesome band. He tours. He even has a Grammy. And I have written a couple of Hallmark movies you've never heard of. But, you know, we've always been making stuff. We've always been out there making films, making music, trying to find a way, trying to navigate the town. And, you know, both of us are always talking about how the landscape has changed, and it was changing right as we got in. We just didn't know yet because we were just making stuff in our backyard, and we still kind of have that philosophy, which is like make stuff that you're excited about, make stuff that's like unique, and like, you know, most of the stuff you make, you're going to make no money off of. And knowing that, what would you choose to make? But we you know, the new era of streamers and distribution. I think it was very obvious that music was disrupted by the whole, you know, internet, LimeWire, FrostWire, piracy. It was so easy to get songs, whenever that was, 2006, 7, that whole thing, that anyone could just rip it. But it didn't really affect movies in the same way because nobody wants to bootleg a film and watch it on their computer. They still want to watch it on their nice TV. They don't want... you don't want it to be video. It ruins the experience, but a song with the files are so small that you could just rip it and you wouldn't know the difference between that and the official MP3 that Apple gave you. And so, you know, Spotify did their thing to music, and the movie industry seemingly was unaffected in the large way, at least in what I experienced, until streamers. And streamers did change things. They first and foremost made what I again, this is just me talking from my own experience, and I am, you know, very, very green in the scheme of things. But I have seen that some of the royalties that you would get from a streamer-based movie were shockingly not what I thought I was. I thought I was going to be able to, like, go a couple of years without work based off a movie of that scale and royalties, and honestly, it barely paid my rent for the month. And that's, you know, you go over to like the TV movies and Hallmark and stuff, and you're going to be way better off than the streamers, unless, again, I'm not talking about giant A-list blockbuster films. We can't talk about those because that's 10, 12 screenwriters in the entire world. We're talking about how does the average Joe like myself use their skills, their talents, their craft, make movies, and make a living. Doesn't even need to be a great living, but enough to, like, you know, have your rent, have your food without having to eat ramen noodles and cup noodles, you know, and, you know, whatever, that kind of thing, and do what you love, where there's still hard work and all that crap. So back to the main point, which was streamers, distribution, and making films where, you know, I've now know several people who've made films for a couple $100,000, you know, raised money, and normally you make a couple $100,000 film, you get distribution. You are going to get people to watch it or hear about it. It may suck, you know. We all remember going to Blockbuster and grabbing movies off the rack and saying this sucks, but you still watch those movies. And now the tier of films that aren't getting watched, that are like had serious money in it, and, you know, several $100,000 is serious money, you know, to make a movie, and to see, like, oh, we went on to Tubi and we've made, you know, $3,000 in the last year on our $200,000 budget. It's like that is like abysmal, you know. That is like, you know, a movie loss normally would be like, oh my god, like we barely made even over 3 years, or like, oh, we made it for $300,000 and we've only made, you know, $260 or whatever. But to make like $3,000-$4,000 on a $200,000 budget, which I know several people, and, you know, they have cast, they have actors you've heard of. It's a testament to what has happened, which is the oversaturation of content and the value of that content not meaning what it used to mean. Because, you know, when you subscribe to a streamer, like, you aren't, well, at least the way they do it, it's like, it doesn't really matter if a movie is good on there, like, as the filmmaker and artist, because they're building a library, versus if you got a production company to make your movie and market it and distribute it, like there's attention and money going into making sure that movie gets seen. But when movies get scooped up in dozens and hundreds by distributors or streamers, it's like there's no personal attention to the film, but films are made by people who put all this attention to detail. So to spend several years of your life to make a film that's just basically thrown onto a library, it's rough. Then you have people who, reject that system, they self-distribute and can have usually the same problem, which is like they put it on YouTube, no one sees it. They put it on their own website, no one sees it. And then there's a couple of, mastermind geniuses who do break through that mold, but they also do it because they usually had a lot of money. So all this to say, my buddy was like, the musician was like, make a music video and no one sees it. You get 20,000 views. That used to mean something, but 20,000 views is kind of like, it doesn't shake up the tree. It doesn't lead to actual real exposure, real opportunities. You hear about like when a musician used to like have their band and their song was played on a little local radio show, like people actually watched it, people heard about it. You go on to a podcast, there's so many podcasts now that it's like nobody's able to even watch all of them. So it's like it doesn't even equal like one real fan. I mean, it can, but so I think this is the big place we're at, which is like, how do you make films that you are basically, the self-financer of, and I'm not saying you had to put your own money, but you basically did it yourself. You didn't have a traditional production company do it. What do you do with a movie like that? And how do you get seen? How do you make movies that get seen without serious marketing budgets? That I think is the big question. That's what we talked about. And that's, I think, where the shifting landscape, somebody's going to break through and they're going to understand that like right now the distribution system is like built to buy up as much movies and leave the filmmakers basically stranded because it's about quantity. Buy 300 titles, put it onto, sell them all in one package. But when that happens, it's like you are just part of a library used to get people to subscribe to a platform or watch an ad. When your film that you spent all this time, it deserves some personal attention. So again, this is an ongoing conversation. Me and my buddy, we discussed it a lot, and I don't have the answers. I'm learning myself and trying to adapt and make movies that get seen and trying new tricks. But yeah, I guess it's just an open conversation about the state of the movie industry, of distribution, and what it means to be a filmmaker in 2025. What? How is it 2025? I feel like it's 2012 still. Peace and love. Keep making your movie, and I don't know what else to say. It will come up as we go. We'll find a way. We'll figure it out. That's what we do. We figure it out. Peace.